Hello, fabulous Sagittarius. Welcome to your horoscope for the month of August 2014, Love Focus. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. This month, where it comes to love, in the middle of the month, there is a very important full moon taking place that I think will speak right to the heart of you. And I say this for a few reasons. One reason is that this particular full moon will be speaking in harmony with the planet Uranus. Now, Uranus currently is in a part of the sky for you that has to do with love, the experience of love. Some people say true love. I think of it more as the aliveness that love can bring. And this particular full moon is also standing across the sky from Mercury. And Mercury is the ruling planet of your opposite sign, which is traditionally thought to look at or thought to represent partnerships or your partner. The ruling planet of the sign that is opposite to yours is essentially your partner, sort of roaming around in the sky. And so you put these together, and this suggests to me, on the one hand, yes, action changes taking place on the love front, but also, given the position of this full moon to you, a lot of it is going to center around communication. A lot of it is going to center around having a conversation, even if that conversation is difficult to have. This full moon is also speaking with Saturn, and Saturn right now is in the sign just before yours. And it's speaking with Saturn in a conversation that astrologers call a square. And it is a conversation of tension, yes, but also motivation. It's a conversation between Saturn and the full moon that says, okay, we've got to figure out a plan right now that's going to work for the long term. And this is a conversation that has to happen. So you put all this together, and it does suggest to me that you certainly are trying to find the words to move yourself towards greater love. You're trying to find the action steps. You're trying to open yourself, which is so great. Hold that motivation, because I do think that you're actually going to end up in a place that you like very much. And I do think that actually you're making great strides. However, because of that Saturn, I look at that Saturn and it says to me, and also you add Mercury. Mercury is a planet of talking anyways. You add Mercury, and I can see how it might be hard to just take that first step, to actually say what maybe as you start the month, you don't even have the words for yet. It might just be a feeling that's taking place and has probably been building for quite a while. So those of you who are in an established bond, it really is the opposite sign that takes precedence when you are in an established bond. And right now, the ruling planet of your opposite sign is very harmoniously placed to you. So it does suggest that ultimately there is an underlying sense of support, an underlying sense of harmony that is there. And as I said, Uranus is supporting this particular full moon as well. And so it looks like what conversations do come about will ultimately lead to a feeling of lightness, will ultimately lead to clarity as well. However, I do have to say that even though there's a part of you that may feel like this is coming for a long time, it is actually likely to be your partner that sort of either acts in a way or actually steps up and initiates the conversation that says, okay, this is a conversation we need to have. This is something that we need to talk about. And in that, working out just what it is that the two of you are working towards, what future it is that you're trying to create. Now, I do think that because Saturn is in the sign just before yours, there's an element here of you maybe behaving in ways that you aren't aware of, okay? So the sign just before yours is a part of the sky for you that is associated with what is unconscious, what is not seen by you. And also, the ancients said it was the part of the sky that would have to do with self-sabotage as well. And so if you have a stated intention to, experience greater love, to move towards greater love and greater wisdom, and your partnership is a part of that, and you in any way maybe have not been realizing how you've been getting in the way of that, this full moon is going to help to clear the air, is going to help your partner to bring to your attention, like, hey, you've been actually doing this and this isn't very good for us. This isn't good for our future. When that moment comes, embrace it, allow it to happen. And as I said, I do feel like this is likely to be a conversation that's been actually building for quite a while now. Saturn is, as you start the month, Saturn is sort of newly direct. And by the time we get to the full moon, Saturn will have sort of gained momentum, be back at sort of regular speeds again, pretty much. And so this will be good. So it'll be like one of Saturn. Saturn isn't out of shadow yet. And I've talked about that in weekly horoscopes, certainly. However, Saturn is getting stronger, if you will, in the sky. And so this conversation that you have will be part of this increasing strength, the willingness to actually look at yourself, the willingness to examine what's actually been going on, wherever it is that there have been any sort of little resentments or little things that need to be healed within the partnership. Now will bring a cleaning of the air that allow that to happen. Those of you who have somebody in your sphere that you may be interested, that you've been looking at, you've been considering, maybe been dating even for a little bit of while, it is Uranus that takes precedence here in that particular situation. And when I consider the fact that ultimately Uranus is very harmoniously placed, to me, this also, the type of conversation that Uranus is having with this full moon is what astrologers call a sextile. So this is a conversation that is harmonious, yes, but ultimately it's you that decides. It's like the universe gives you keys, gives you the inspiration, points the direction, but it's up to you to decide if you're going to follow it. It's up to you to decide if you're going to walk that path or not. Now, what I find really interesting is it does look like when I look at this that it may actually end up being you that initiates the conversation, but it's a conversation that needs to happen. Now, whether it's some fear that you're not acknowledging, that you want to clear the air, or whether it is, which I think for some of you it might be, sometimes people always show us who they are. And when you're dating somebody, especially, they say, give yourself time, get to know this person, because you might think you know them a month in, you might think you know them 2 months in, but then after a while, you see who they are repeatedly after 6 months, after 12 months, you get a much better picture, if you will. And so this is you getting that better picture is what I'm seeing. And so it is ultimately up to you to decide how you are going to interpret that, how you're going to approach the subject. But chances are, as you're getting a fuller picture, things might not be as ideal as they may seem in those first moments, in those first flutters. And you're really having to look at this person with a greater sense of truth as to who they actually are. And where it is maybe that you didn't want to see something before, now it becomes a lot more clearer to you. And that in turn leads you to decide, or leads you with the question of how much further do you want to go with this? What action do you want to take next? What can you do now to nurture the best of this and accept what it is that maybe might not be so perfect right about now? So be open to that. I do think a very small percentage of you might be hearing something that really comes across, that Saturn might end up being really dominant, and might hear something that really is like, oh, wow. Those of you born right in the middle of your sign would likely experience this energy most. So right around the 5th or 6th of your respective sign of the sign of Sagittarius likely would have a moment that says, okay, wow. So the 5th or 6th of December, rather, which is right in the middle of the sign of Sagittarius, likely would have more, that Saturn will end up being a little bit more emphasized for you, where it's like, oh, okay, wow, okay. This is the real situation. And if that should be the case, be grateful first and foremost, but know that Uranus is there as well, supporting you, so you can decide on the clarity, you can have the conversation, you can clear the air as well, and everything can be very well supported as you move forward. Those of you who are not currently in a relationship, I'm seeing you wanting to connect with people. That's the main sort of message that I get with this. And it might not always be easy. It might kick up some of your fears as well, but there's the desire there. There's the motivation there. The possibility of you having a flirtation that seems to come out of nowhere is strongly indicated, especially an online flirtation or otherwise spontaneous flirtation that happens as you're sort of walking around, doing errands, walking around your neighborhood and such. And it may sort of take you a little aback. Now, I do want to make you mindful as well that you may end up having a flirtation with somebody where it's kind of inappropriate. And so afterwards, you're like, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that now. And so if that should be the case, well, it's up to you to decide. It does look like ultimately it leads to more talking, whether it's with that person or with somebody else, which ends up helping you tremendously to understand just what was that all about? What was that flirtation about? So that should help you as well. But keep the lines of communication open. Do be open to connecting with people, to flirting with people, because that energy will add a sense of happiness. And then whatever else the universe needs you to see, whatever else part the universe needs you to play, that will just kind of show up for you and as part of your learning, as part of your karma, and as part of your personal path towards greater love and greater wisdom. One thing is for sure, though, the universe wants you to talk it out. The universe wants you to find the words to express what it is that you're feeling, and especially what you're feeling in the context of love and romance and partnership. You have the vocabulary there, certainly. And when the opportunity comes, seize it and speak your truth. Thank you for watching. It'll be a great month. Be fabulous and enjoy.